Hello, my wild and beautiful creators. I'm back with another fun lesson for us to do together. Today we are going to create a drawing of a lion, and then we are actually going to be able to paint this lion using some kind of unusual materials. We're going to be using some markers, just like we did with our last project. Okay, so make sure that they're washable markers, just like regular markers, any colors you would like. We're also going to be using some coffee filters. So you're probably going to need to ask your parents for some of these and make sure that you have their permission to use these coffee filters. You're going to need about 4 coffee filters for this project. You're also going to need a pencil to draw with. If you have a pen, you can also use that for this project. Make sure it's not a washable marker because this is going to be for the outline of your lion. If you do not have a pen, a pencil works just fine also. I'm going to be using some white paper, but you can use notebook paper or really any kind of paper you have lying around. You're also going to need either a paintbrush or a Q-tip and a container to hold some water. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first thing you want to do is make sure that your paper is vertical, which means it's straight up and down, okay? And then you want to kind of locate the middle of your paper by touching either edge and coming together. So again, touch the 2 edges, come all the way up together. And then I'm going to come down a little bit lower than the very middle, and I'm going to draw a W. So I'm going to come down and up, and then down and up. You want to try to make sure these 2 lines are even. I usually kind of lay my pen down to see if they're even. So you've got one curve here and one curve here. The next thing you're going to do is come to the middle of this curve right here and come straight down and straight down. Again, these should be around the same distance. Then you're going to connect these 2 lines like that. And then we're going to add a curved line right there. This is going to be his mouth right here, this area. Okay, so now we're going to come up to this side, make that a little bit longer so it's even, and we're going to draw a diagonal line that comes out like that, and a diagonal line that comes out like that. So right now my drawing is the same on both sides. If I cut my paper in half, you would see that both sides are the same. That means that my drawing is symmetrical. Now I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to curve up, back in, and down. It's almost like I'm drawing a heart. And I'm going to come up here, come around, over, and down. Now this side's a little bit wider and a little bit higher than this side, but I'm okay with it because it's art. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm going to leave it the way it is. Now I'm going to add my lion's ears. I'm going to come to this top part right here, curve around, and do the same thing on the other side. My drawing is still symmetrical. It's the same on both sides. I'm going to add another little curve inside there, the inside of his ears. All right, now I'm going to come back down here to draw my lion's nose. So I'm going to come right over here, and I'm drawing a curved line. Almost looks like the letter C, kind of turned sideways. And then I'm going to draw a line that comes over the top. And there's our lion's nose. I'm going to add a few little spots right here. Now I'm adding 5. You could add 6. You could add 3. You could add 10. Or you could add none. It's your lion. Have fun with it. I'm going to give him some eyes. So I'm going to come back up to this area right here. And I'm going to draw an oval. An oval is like a circle that's been squished, right? It's been squished kind of skinny. And then we're going to draw another little oval inside of there. And then we're going to move over on our paper. We're going to draw another oval with a little oval inside it. Now, if I'm going too fast with this drawing, then you know you can just pause the video and catch up to me, okay? I'm going to bring that out a little. I want a little more round. And then I'm going to take my marker. Now remember, for this drawing, I am using a permanent marker, okay? I'm not using a washable marker because when this drawing gets wet, I don't want this marker to smear. So if you want to draw this with a pencil, that's great. Or if you want to draw with just like a regular pen, that works too, because those will not smear when they get wet. And if you have a permanent marker, that's cool too, but you certainly don't have to. I'm going to color in both of these. And we left that little circle white. That's called a highlight. It looks like some light is kind of shining in our lion's eyes. Brings him to life a bit more. Great. Now we're going to give him some whiskers. I'm drawing 3 whiskers on my lion. You can draw as many whiskers as you want or no whiskers. That's fine too. It's your lion. We are almost finished with our lion. The last thing we need to do is add that really cool fluffy mane around his head. So I'm going to start over here and I'm going to draw a big curved line. Whoop. I'm going as far and close to the edge of my paper as I can. Then I'm going to curve back in and down. Same thing over here. I'm going to come down, curve over, and to a point. Now, I went off my paper a little bit right here. That's okay. No problem. I'm taking up my whole paper. I want to use as much of my paper as I can. And then I'm going to add his little shoulders down here. So I'm just going to draw a curved line there and a curved line there. And now we have drawn our lion. Now we're ready to add some color to this lion. So this is the part where you will need your coffee filters. And like I said, you probably only need about 4 of these. So I'm going to take 1, 2, and you could probably get away with just 3 coffee filters also. Okay, so here's my coffee filters. Now, I need to decide what colors I want my lion to be. So I'm going to use some brown for his mane. I'm going to use some pink for his nose and the inside of his ears. And I'm going to use some orange and yellow for his face and his body. Now, if you want your lion to be purple and blue and green, you can totally use those colors for your lion. This is your lion and your art project, so have fun with it. I'm going to do these colors. They're a little bit more traditional for a lion, but like I said, have fun with it. Use whatever colors you would like. So the next thing you're going to do is you are going to start coloring these coffee filters with your markers. Now, you do not have to color these super dark and thick and juicy like you normally would. You can actually just take your marker and kind of just rub it back and forth on this coffee filter. So see how I'm leaving a lot of white spaces and things like that, and I'm coloring actually kind of sloppy. That's okay for this portion of the project, and you're going to see why in just a little bit. So I'm going to color this whole coffee filter brown because this is what I'm going to use for his brown mane. So if you're maybe doing a blue mane on your lion or some other kind of fun color, then you would color a whole coffee filter that color. Now, another fun thing you can do is you can add a couple of different colors on here. Maybe you want your lion's mane to be yellow and orange. You can color both of those colors on here. I am trying to make sure that I put a lot of ink on my coffee filter, but again, I'm not coloring the whole thing super dark, okay? So I'm done with my brown, pop my cap back on, and then I'm gonna color this next one orange and yellow combined. I'm gonna color with yellow first, actually. So I'm gonna come around here. I'm using my other hand to kind of hold this coffee filter in place. It wants to kind of escape, but I'm not gonna let it. Here I go, coloring around here. And I'm kind of using the edge of my marker. I'm not really using that point because I don't want to lose the point on my marker. So I'm just kind of using the side of my marker. Again, I'm spinning my coffee filter around just so I can make sure I'm getting color everywhere. Here we go. Pop the cap back on. Use some orange. Ooh, that one was really stuck on there. Get out of here. And then I could just color a little bit of orange on here like this. Look at this. This is crazy. Crazy sloppy color, and it's okay. We're basically just trying to get as much color onto these coffee filters as possible. Okay, so I'm done with that one. And then I'm gonna try to narrow this down to just 3 coffee filters, okay? So just 3. So this one I'm gonna color a little bit of pink because I do want some pink for my lion's nose and his ears. So I'm gonna add a little bit of pink over here. Again, your lion's nose does not have to be pink. If you want it to be a different color, go for it. It is your art project. So here's some pink that I'm adding. I think that's plenty for his nose. And then just in case I need some more yellow, this is kind of going to be my spare piece that I can use for coloring my lion. And if I need a little more brown, I'll color this section brown. Now I'm not mixing these colors like I did with the orange and yellow because I do want these colors to be a little bit separate. And you'll see why in just a minute. All right, so I have all of my coffee filters colored. I've got a brown one for his mane. I've got a yellow and orange for his face and his shoulders. And I have some pink for his nose and ears. I have a little bit of extra yellow and a little bit of extra brown. Now, the next thing you need to do is you need to tear these coffee filters up into pieces. And they don't have to be teeny tiny pieces. What I do is I usually just take 2 fingers like they're pinchers, pinch the top, and then you just kind of start to pull. If you have scissors, you can also cut these with scissors. I'm just tearing mine. That's just as easy. But if you want to use scissors, that's totally fine too. I would tear them, maybe that's like your smallest piece, and that would be your biggest piece. So you don't want them teeny tiny, but you don't want them huge either. All right, now I have my orange and yellow ready to go, my brown and my pink. I'm gonna slide these to the edges just a little bit so I have some room. Now I need something to sit my lion on that's not a paper surface, so you don't want to sit it on cardboard or paper or anything like that. If you have an extra kind of baking tray, that's great. I have a cookie tray, and then I covered mine with foil. So now I have my torn up colored coffee filters. I have my lion on a tray or on a piece of tin foil. I have either a paintbrush or a Q-tip, either is fine to paint with. And then I have some water in a dish. You are going to begin adding color to your lion by using pieces of colored coffee filter. So I want his nose pink. I'm going to sit a piece right here on him, dip my paintbrush in my water, and then I'm just going to add some water to this colored coffee filter. Now you'll notice that part of my coffee filter is off the edge of his nose. That's totally fine. Don't even worry about it. You want to make sure you paint the whole thing, and that's going to make it stick. Now I also want his mouth to be pink, so I'm going to add another piece right there and add some water to it. When you add water to it, it's almost like glue and it holds it right there in place. Now I want his face right here to be this yellow-orange color. So I'm going to place that down there and start adding water to that piece of painted or colored coffee filter. Each time you paint it, what happens is that water wakes up that washable marker that you colored with, and it kind of turns it into a paint. And then that paint gets absorbed by your paper where you drew the lion. Now this part will take a little bit of time because you have to paint each piece individually, but I think that's the fun of art, is the creating, right? So you don't need to rush through this and worry about hurrying up to finish. Take your time and have fun with it. It's almost like a puzzle too, trying to figure out where these pieces can go. I'm going around my lion's eye, but if you get some coffee filter over top of his eye, that's totally fine too. Don't even worry about it. Now, if you don't have a paintbrush, a Q-tip works really great too. So you could just dip your Q-tip in the water and use that as a way to add some water to your colored coffee filter also. So you do not have to have a paintbrush for this part of the project. A Q-tip works just as great. Okay, so I've pretty much covered his nose, his mouth, his ears, his little chest and body, and his face. The last thing I need to add is his mane. So this is where I'm going to use the brown that I colored. So I'm going to start placing these around. And it doesn't matter which side of the coffee filter you use. It's not like there's a front or back or anything like that. You can use either side because when you add that water, it's going to bring that ink to life. So it doesn't matter which side you've got it on. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Again, remember, don't worry about making it perfect. This is art. This is fun. The imperfections, I think, are what's so interesting about art. So it lets you know somebody created it with their hands, right? Now what we need to do, since our line is completely covered and painted, we're going to let him dry for about 2 or 3 hours. We want to make sure this is completely dry, and the ink that is on these coffee filters is going to kind of go through and stick to the paper. Once he's completely dry, we will have our final step. I have let my lion dry, and all of my painted coffee filters are kind of starting to peel up on the edges. You can tell that's how you know he's all dry and ready to go. So all I'm going to do is start to peel and take off all these pieces of coffee filter. And you'll see as you peel it up that the color that you added with the marker to the coffee filter bled from the coffee filter to your piece of paper. And this is kind of like a really fun magic reveal. And there he is. So as you can see, the pink bled right here on the ears and the nose and the mouth, and then he has some colors that kind of blended around his mane. He looks really great. I'm really happy with him. If you notice these little white spots, that's just where the paper actually kind of curled up a little bit. Let's see if I can see this little wrinkle right in here. So that color didn't actually make it onto the paper, and so that's why you have those white spots right there, which I think actually look kind of cool and make it look really different. If you want your lion to be a little bit lighter in color, like this one, then you would just peel up these pieces maybe a little bit while they're still kind of wet, maybe after it dries for like 30 minutes to an hour. But if you want it a little bit darker like this, then you're gonna need to let it completely dry, which will take about 2 or 3 hours. All right, there he is. Looks great. I hope you had a great time creating this lion with me. Even if you don't have coffee filters or paintbrushes or things like that, you can certainly still draw this lion and just color him with marker or color him with crayon. I know whatever you create is going to be absolutely beautiful. Have a great day, guys. See you next week. Bye.